What if we created a community, an ecosystem in the field of electronics components and systems, to allow researchers and technologists from SMEs, large enterprises, research and technology organizations to network, generate innovative ideas, build consortia, accelerate digital innovation, and turn it into applications which enable sustainable growth. An ecosystem where national funders, the public authorities, can easily see the valuable achievements of the participants for their economies and society. An instrument that catalyzes sustainable digital transformation to create new ways of working and living for all of us. Xecs, a Eureka Cluster, is a program for the electronics components and systems community, designed to build international RD&I consortia, help access to funding, and manage collaborative projects with exploitation and growth opportunities for all the partners involved. Driven by industry and harnessing the power of Eureka,
Good morning. Welcome to the Xecs Launch event. I'm Caroline Bedran, the Director General of ENEAS, and I will be your moderator today to guide you through the program of this event. As you may know, ENEAS is a not-for-profit association with the aim to foster innovation in the field of electronic components and systems, which we will refer to as ECS. ENEAS has been involved in Eureka clusters for quite a number of years, with Catherine, Penta, Euripides, and now the new Xecs cluster, which we launched today, together with the opening of its first call for proposals. I will guide you first through the agenda before sharing the rules that we will ask you to follow today and introducing the first speaker. Now let us look at the agenda. It is made of short sessions, starting with an opening by the Eureka chair, followed by an introduction to Xecs. We will dive into the specificities of the program, first to share with you the focus areas of RD&I, research, development, and innovation, that will be supported, to give you tips about how to submit a successful proposal, then to introduce you to the web tool called Xecs Project Zone that allows you to submit your proposal. Finally, I will explain how to join the community to take full advantage of the Xecs program. At the end, a Q&A session will take place based on the questions that you can submit in the chat that we will gather and answer during this last session. Now let us look at the rules of the game. First, this workshop is recorded. The record, as well as the presentations, will be available after the event on the Xecs website at the address that you see on the screen, and we will share it again with you after the event. Second, as in other workshops, you can ask questions directly in the chat. We will answer either immediately in the chat or at the end during the Q&A session. Please mute yourself and unmute only in the Q&A session at the end after raising your hand in case you want to ask a question directly to our team. Now let me introduce the first speaker. I will introduce Miguel Bello Moura from the Atlantic International Research Center in Portugal. The Atlantic International Research Center, also called AIR Center, has been appointed as President and Chairman of Eureka under the Portuguese presidency from July 2021 to June 2022. This is an international organization stimulating collaboration with the aim to address global challenges and local priorities in the Atlantic Ocean. It promotes an integrative approach to space, climate, ocean, and energy, supported by emerging technological innovations and advances in data science. Miguel Bello, CEO of the Air Center, is currently the chairperson of the Portuguese Eureka Chairmanship and will share his views with us today. Let us listen to Miguel Bello now.
Good morning, everybody. Dear Caroline, thank you very much for your kind introduction and for the invitation to participate in this important Xecs launch event. Ladies and gentlemen, the area you are working in is of utmost importance for our future to guarantee citizen welfare. We need electronic components and systems to address pressing topics in Green Deal, in digitization, and in the health sector. And it goes without saying that research, development, and innovation here is of equal importance. Also in Earth observation, an area which is very close to my heart. The Eureka Cluster programs provide an excellent setting for PVC-funded projects here. It is bottom-up and SME-oriented. It allows you, as industry, to define topics, address your priorities, and ensure efficient processes for implementation. I know from our experiences that decisions about funding or not in a reasonable time frame are very relevant for planning and implementation in industry. Xecs, Eureka Clusters, and Eureka in general provide this, especially compared with other European instruments. As you may know, Eureka Cluster were the model for many so-called partnerships that exist today in different fields. That is good. However, we have to modify models for the future, and Eureka has done so. During the last 2 years, we modified Eureka Clusters, resulting in the new Eureka Cluster program we launched in June this year. We managed the split between keeping the good of existing approach, acting bottom-up and SME-oriented, and fostering collaboration across borders with a strong engagement of public authorities. The new Xecs cluster and its first call are at the forefront of the new program, and I would like to use the opportunity to thank all being involved in this development, the Euripides and Penta communities, and Nadja Rohrbach, the newly appointed Xecs director in person. She played a crucial role in implementing the new Eureka Clusters model, but also Patrick Cogez, that made an excellent work and resigned recently. Portugal took over the Eureka presidency in July this year, and we need the clusters to achieve the objective of our presidency. Innovation for a greener, digital, and healthier planet through collaborative approach is our motto. One of our main priorities is to increase the global outreach of Eureka Network, encouraging worldwide research, development, and innovation collaboration with non-European countries that could bring renewed dynamism and add value to the Eureka Network. Exploring global cooperation opportunities, particularly in Africa, in countries like Nigeria, South America, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and South Mediterranean countries, and promoting collaboration with international organizations with an important innovation component, like the European Space Agency, where a first memorandum of understanding has been signed recently. It is also important to enhance new forms of cooperation for effective research and innovation programs by strengthening the relation with the European Union within the Horizon Europe Framework Program, including European Union missions, as well as promoting a link to the Green Deal by consolidating new collaborative programs like Innowide or Invest Horizon, and launching Eurostar 3 through the new Innovative SMEs Partnership, ensuring it is part of the future EIC Accelerator plugin. The successful implementation of Eurostar 3 program is one of the milestones of our presidency. We recently opened the first call with a deadline to submit proposal at the beginning of November. Another important priority is the strengthening of the Eureka position by reinforcing the mechanisms for the generation of projects and by contributing to the revitalization of the Eureka cluster programs. It is of extraordinary importance for us to implement the new governance model and to ensure greater compromise from public authorities on the funding projects, intensifying the participation of industrial key players at the board of cluster governance structure, and also promoting collaboration and cross-fertilization between clusters through the organization of joint calls. In this line, we foster the promotion of project linked with the Green Deal in areas like Earth observation from space, artificial intelligence and its combination with Earth observation system data, an area where the cluster contribution, especially Xecs, may have a very important role. We are preparing the first cluster joint call in this line is called Accelerating Sustainability. It is also important for us the promotion as far as possible of the voluntary synchronization of evaluation and funding among the network. Finally, one of our priorities is also adding value to the Eureka label with the organization of the Eureka's Global Innovation Summit in 2022 and the Eureka Ministerial Meeting in June 2022 in Lisbon. To summarize, the Eureka Cluster program is an excellent instrument to run research, development, and innovation projects. It is bottom-up, SME-oriented, and strongly supported by public authorities. I encourage you to submit project proposals in the first Xecs call, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all at the Global Innovation Summit in Lisbon in June next year. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Miguel. It was a pleasure having you with us today. And I want to join your thanks to Peter Cogez, our previous director, who has been instrumental in creating Xecs, before handing over to Nadja. So now let me introduce you to the new Xecs program director, Nadja Rohrbach. Nadja has a long experience in Eureka, and we are very happy that she recently joined ENEAS with the aim to develop our new Xecs cluster and support the community of electronic components and systems. Nadja, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and good morning to everybody. I'm really glad being part of the ENEAS team now, and I'm very happy to start presenting you the new cluster Xecs. So for the new cluster Xecs, so I just want to start to present to you what a cluster is in general. So first, Xecs, as you heard several times already, is supporting the electronic components and systems. So it is a cluster in this field. Xecs is managed and operated by ENEAS, which is an industry association. It benefits from complementary activities within the Excel and the future KDT joint undertaking, which also covers the same field. And we gain a lot of experience from Katrine, Euripides, and the pentaclusters. So Xecs is the successor of those. So we have a lot of experience, and based on those, Xecs was generated. And we closely cooperate with the national authorities being part of Eureka. So as you can see, the national authorities, the public authorities and private together cooperate to perform transnational R&D. And I also, so it's all about RD&I projects in international context. So private can be large enterprises, SMEs, universities, RTOs, and others as well. Next, please. So it was also mentioned several times that Xecs is a Eureka cluster. So what is Eureka? Eureka is the world's biggest public network for international cooperation in RD&I. It's present in over 45 countries. So as you can see, it is not only about all the EU countries, but it's also around, and we have many associated countries and countries participating in Eureka as a full member. So as you can see, we have, for instance, Canada, Israel, Singapore, South Africa, and South Korea being also part of Eureka, and many more. You'll find all this information on our website, as well as on the Eureka public website. So Eureka is an intergovernmental organization for market-driven industrial RD&I. So it's not a funding program as such, but it implements several funding programs aiming at different parties, like the clusters, which are the industry-driven program, like Eurostars, which is the innovative SME program. And this transnational network facilitates the coordination of national priorities on innovation and provides you access to national funding. Next, please. So how is Xecs positioned in all these funding landscape? As you know, there are many, many different funding programs, but still the clusters are a unique program, as you can see here on the slide. So we have the pure national funding programs, where you as a participant, you have the national contract, and it is all along the different national priorities. Then you have the clusters, which is somehow a mixture. The funding comes from the national parties, from the national authorities. But we are a transnational program, so we are looking for collaborative projects between different countries. Then next we have the Excel and the Future KDT, which is a combination of EC and national programs. So it follows national and European priorities, and you as a participant will receive contracts and funding from both, from the EC and from the national authorities. And then last but not least, at the end of this funding landscape, we have the pure EC programs like Horizon Europe now. So you have, it's following the European priorities, and you will receive as a participant a contract from the EC only. Next, please. So why should you join specifically XECS as a cluster? So as I said, it's covering electronic components and systems and supporting this community. And if you become part of XECS and join us, you will be part of a huge ecosystem. In this ecosystem, you will have the chance to build and join RD&I consortia. You will receive access to RD&I funding at national level. We will help you to create collaborative innovation within your project. To manage your collaborative project, we will support you. So we will not leave you on your own. We will have provide you also with experts who will give you hints how to improve your projects and also which follow up and monitor your project. So to make your project really a success and to generate impact for you at the end. So this is this generating high economic impact and a better life for us all, as sustainability, for instance, is now, of course, also one major part of all the different applications. So again, so we will not leave you alone. In this ecosystem, you will find all the support necessary for you to generate impact and to create good and really successful projects. Next, please. So how does a typical XECS project look like? So those are figures which are more or less average figures. Usually we have 4 to 15 participants. It can be less, although we don't recommend this. It can be more, although we neither recommend this because it becomes sometimes quite difficult to manage a project with many, many participants. So, and again, the participants, so it's your choice how you set up your project, as it is a bottom-up program, whether you involve large companies, SMEs, research institutes, academia, it is up to you. And please build your consortium the way it is best for your project. It's not that the more participants you have, the better. No, all the participants should play a vital role in your project and benefit from this project. Usually a project has 3 to 5 Eureka member countries. So we are not talking about the participants here, it's about the member countries. The minimum is 2 countries, but we always recommend to involve at least 3 countries. This will raise the chance for funding and that the project at the end can really start. You can involve, as I said, it is an average, also more than 5 countries. But again, it should be for the value of your project. The project itself is built along the ECS value chain, and you will find more about this in the ECS Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which will be presented to you soon. Regarding the cost, so we have usually 2 to 30 million euro project cost, which is a wide range. So just to tell you, so it can be a small project, it can be a little medium-sized project. We don't recommend really very small projects. As I said in the beginning, we have really technical experts which help you. And so this also is something which distinguishes the cluster projects from other projects, that we are rather looking for medium-sized projects. The duration maximum is usually 36 months. But if in the course of the project you find out you might need a bit more, of course, this won't be a problem at the end. Next slide, please. So what would be your benefits? You will have access to leading edge technologies via your project partners. And you will have also access to skills and to knowledge which you don't have. This is why you usually perform something in a collaborative project, because you don't have the skills, you don't have the knowledge maybe necessary. And you create new partnerships which last maybe more and longer than the project as such is planned. This is also helpful for you often for the future. It gives you access to the market. Specifically being an SME, joining with a large industry, you will have access to the market. Also looking for partners abroad from Europe gives you access to new markets. So at the end, it will have impact on your own economic growth. And you will have this direct access to European large companies, research institutions, academia, and SMEs, because you will be part of an ecosystem. Next, please. So this is now the call timeline. Today, 28th, we have this launch event. So as of today, you can start to generate your project ideas. You can start to build your consortia, look for new partners, or join existing consortia which are looking for new partners. You start to prepare your project, and finally, you will submit your project. Till the project outline submission deadline on 25th of February, we will have several events and possibilities for you to look for new partners, to join partners, to present your project. For instance, during the FX conference in November, we will have also a pre-brokerage event. But the event FX as such is also very valuable to join, and we'll come back with the exact dates for you a little bit later. In January, we will hopefully have a conference in presence in Brussels, the ECS brokerage event in January. And then we have 25th of February, as mentioned, the PO submission deadline. This is the project outline. This is a little less description in detail of your project, and you will receive after that quite good information and recommendation how to improve your project. And then you will be invited to submit the full project proposal, and the deadline for that will be 27th of May next year. Funding and labeling of the projects is expected to happen in September. So this will be a joint decision between the cluster XECS and the public authorities involved in the different projects. Next, please. So we have the ECS Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. So this is a large book, if it would be printed, with many, many different chapters on all the different technologies and areas covered by the ECS value chain. And my colleague Patrick will give you more detailed view on this in a few minutes. Next, please. Currently, we have 19 countries committed and supporting XECS, and those 19 countries mentioned here also provide budget to support XECS projects. But any other country which is not on this list, still you can involve partners from any other country. The partners will need, in any case, to contact their national authorities to learn about funding possibilities and the possibilities to join the projects. Like in France, for instance, there are national funding programs like iDemo or Innovation Development Support Program, which might give you access to national funding. And so participation also from France could be possible in a project. It is in any case, no matter whether you are coming from one of those 19 countries or any other countries, to contact your national authorities as soon as possible to find out whether you as a partner are eligible, what are national funding conditions, how can you be supported, etc., etc. And even if there is no national funding available, the partners can join and self-finance the project if they like. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, get in touch with us. You will find all the information on our website, also with the national contact points from those 19 countries, and all other contact points and information you will find on the Eureka website. Next, please. So the most important two dates you should remember is 25th of February, which will be the submission deadline for the project outline, and 27th of May, which will be the submission deadline for the full project proposal. Next, please. So you can follow us also as usual, onto social media like Twitter and also LinkedIn. And next, please. Yes, so this was a general overview about the cluster XECS. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us, to get in touch with us. We are here to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nadja, for this very clear introduction about XECS. You are now probably eager to know the focus areas for the RD&I projects that you can submit in Xecs. Let me now hand over to Patrick Cogez, our ENEAS Technical Director, who will present this to you. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you, Caroline, and good morning to all participants. So, what are the research and innovation topics which are relevant for the Xecs program? Well, if I were to answer this question in details, I'm afraid that it could take many hours. Indeed, and as was already mentioned before, Xecs is designed to support projects over the whole scope of the electronics component and system value chain, from materials and equipment required to manufacture integrated circuits, up to the methods and tools needed to architecture and manage electronic systems and systems. And it's targeting key application areas as diverse as mobility and agri-food. Fortunately, there is also a shorter answer to the question which research and innovation topics are covered by the Xecs program. And this short answer is, these are the topics listed in the Electronics Component and System Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, the ECS3 for short. The latest major edition of this document has been released last January. So, what is this document and what does it contain? Here is a schematic of the process to elaborate it. First of all, it is a process supported by the three industrial associations representing all actors of the ECS value chain, ENEAS, Artemis Industry Association, and EPOS. Then it is the result of the collective work of over 250 experts from across our industry who are looking at various technologies and application areas, as shown here, and try to reach a consensus on where these technologies should be 5, 10, and 15 years from now. And the outcome of this collective work is a basis for several key funding programs supporting transnational collaborative research and innovation projects across Europe. Xecs, of course, but also the soon-to-come Key Digital Technologies Joint Undertaking, which is going to replace Excel, and the SRIA is also an inspiration for EC calls within Horizon Europe. I mentioned that the SRIA is a collective work of many experts from the industry, but by industry, I mean not only the private sector, including large corporations and small and medium enterprises alike, but also universities and research institutes. It is important to note that this is an open process. We do not restrict the participants to the members of the three associations. We are striving to include contributors from other adjacent communities. This is essential to ensure that we do not miss important trends which will shape our roadmaps, and also to increase the roadmap adoption. And I would say that the only criteria that really matters when building the teams of experts who are elaborating the SRIA is the expertise that each one brings to the process. Let's now turn to the content. This diagram is showing the structure of the document and illustrates what we mean by covering the whole ECS value chain. At the heart of the picture are the technology sections, divided into two groups. The first group consists of 4 sections describing the foundational technology layers and their technical challenges along the stack, from materials and process technologies to components, modules, and their integration into electronic systems, embedded software developments and software technologies, up to full systems and systems of systems. These foundational layers are characterized by hierarchical dependencies, and advances in all of them will be mandatory to enable the creation of new electronic chips, components, modules, and systems. These are the fundamental elements required to build the digitalization solutions of today and tomorrow. The second group consists of 4 cross-sectional technology sections which focus on transversal areas of scientific research and engineering. In some cases, progress in these areas will require innovation in all layers of the foundational technology stack. For example, artificial intelligence on the edge or 6G connectivity will require new integrated circuits to develop new electronic components, enabling faster, less power-hungry, and more connected components, modules, and entire systems, and will rely on embedded software development leveraging this new hardware. In other cases, it is the progress in the foundational technology layers which will require developments in cross-sectional technologies. For example, architecture and design methods and tools have to be further developed to provide support to all the foundational layers. This technology view is complemented by 6 sections addressing application domains considered as key for Europe. Here we start from the application roadmaps developed by experts of this domain and translate them into requirements for future ECS developments. This represents the application pool side of the SRIA. Last but not least, we have the long-term vision chapter. The topics listed here are not meant to be supported in the short term by the XCCS program, but they are included in the SRIA because the industry felt that it was important for those topics to be investigated at low TRL, for example, funded by Horizon Europe specific calls, to ensure that 5 or 10 years from now, they have reached a maturity level high enough so that industry can take the baton in starting research and innovation projects at a higher TRL. That way, we make sure that the innovation pipeline is continuously fed and does not dry up. Lao Tzu is usually credited to have authored the Tao Te Ching, which contains the famous saying, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." The link with the SRIA is that on top of defining ambitious goals at an horizon of 15 years, we need to describe more precisely the journey to get there, step by step. This is why the SRIA includes not only research topics to be investigated, but also milestones to be reached in specific time periods. Those timelines are present in the different sections of the SRIA, and they are also summarized at the global level to provide more of an helicopter view of the ECS roadmap. So you will therefore find 3 timelines in the introductory chapter, each corresponding to a specific time period. Short term, where the industry has a precise idea of what must be achieved. Medium term, where the knowledge is still reasonably good. And finally, long term, which is 10 years and beyond, for which the expected achievements are more of a prospective nature. And listing a milestone in a time period means that it's expected to be then available as a prototype or maybe in early commercialization. So here is how these global timelines look like, with the example of the short-term one. I obviously do not expect you to be able to read this example in details. This is just to explain how they are structured. You can see the 14 sections which I presented earlier, grouped along the 3 chapters. For each section, we try to identify the most salient milestones, so this is not an exhaustive list here. But nevertheless, it conveys how the sections and their individual roadmaps are linked between each other. For example, the availability of materials enabling recycling and repair, or even biodegradable materials, as identified by the foundational technology section, components, modules, and system integration, will enable the widespread deployment of sensors to ensure the environment monitoring in forests, fields, and ocean, which is expected by the application section, agri-food and natural resources. And those sensors will benefit from the availability of solutions for advanced artificial intelligence at the edge as proposed by the cross-sectional technology section, artificial intelligence, edge computing, and advanced control. So this example shows that the 3IA is also an instrument to promote synergies between the domains covered in the various sections of the document. And it reflects the spirit of XCCS, where we expect proposals covering the value chain, clearly linking technologies and applications together. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Now, let us turn again to Nadja Rohrbach, who will share with you some tips about how to prepare a successful proposal. Nadja, the floor is yours again.
Thank you, Caroline. So as we mentioned already, so we have a lot of experience in managing clusters, and we have also a lot of experience in the Eureka environment. And thus, we also know what makes a proposal a successful proposal, and we would like to share this with you. Next slide, please. So you would like to develop a new product, service, and so what we need from you is a well-defined problem statement. It must be crystal clear to the technical experts and also to the public authorities what you want to develop, and don't make it too generic, because you want to develop something very specific, and thus describe it very clear. And also describe why it is beyond the current state of the art. What makes it different from what is existing and what is on the market? What is unique in the innovation? And why is it needed? Why will it create at the end a demand and also then create economic impact for you? The value chain ecosystem also is, of course, very important. As I said before, please create your consortium the way it is really needed. So what are the complementary skills and knowledge each partner will bring into this project? Why and how do you complement within this project? And all of this along the ECS value chain, as we are a cluster serving the ECS community. What will be finally the commercial impact or other impact for all the different partners? How will you create this? How will you commercialize this? How will you get the access to the market? And what will be the new opportunities and the solutions you will bring to the market? Next, please. Very important, and as mentioned, you should contact your national authorities as soon as possible to find out what are the national criteria you should meet. Because finally, funding will come from the national authorities, and thus you will need to meet the national priorities and national funding and eligibility criteria. So it is really important, and we will always point this out, contact your national authorities as soon as possible. What the national authorities do is, of course, when they evaluate a project, is to look what will be the country impact. Why should we as a country invest in this project? So they would like to have a return on investment, let's say somehow for the country involved. So again, please describe this very clearly also in your application. I mentioned already that the sustainability is becoming more and more important for all of us. So this is also a topic which should be demonstrated in your project and in your application. And finally, your ambition. You have a certain ambition. In this ambition, a certain risk will be involved. So your proposal should be unique. It should involve a certain risk. It should be ambitious, but nevertheless realistic. So it is maybe not easy to find the right balance. If it is of too high risk, nobody will probably invest in it. If there is no risk, and if it's not ambitious enough, why should public authorities spend their money on it? We have on our national website available the evaluation criteria for the technical experts. Read through them, then you will know what the technical experts are looking for and what also you should take into account for your own application. In the project outline form, as well as in the full project proposal form, you will find very detailed guidelines what we expect you to provide us with information for the different sections. And my colleague Shéhérazade, she will guide you through this in more detail in a few minutes. Next, please. So for the networking and for generating your project ideas, we have also prepared for you several opportunities. So first of all, we have an online ECS collaboration tool available. So within this tool, you can present your idea or you can look to other ideas so that you either can ask for specific partners you're looking for, or you can join a certain project. We will have events which will take place. So the FX event in November this year from 23rd to 25th will be an online event. So this is also a unique opportunity for you to meet partners, to present your projects, to listen to all the different funding possibilities. And we will have this pre-brokerage event as mentioned already. And then hopefully it will be a physical event in January 18th to 19th January 2022 in Brussels, hopefully the ECS brokerage event, which will give you also again the chance to present your project. We have poster sessions, we have project pitches, there are briefing sessions for the different funding opportunities. And so this is also an event really worth to participate and to join in order to prepare well your project proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nadja. And to all, remember, do not hesitate to ask questions in the chat. So at this stage, I think you are ready to learn more precisely how to submit your XECS project proposal. Shéhérazade Azizi, well known from you if you have been involved in Catren, Penta or Euripides projects, is our program manager, and she will guide you into the XECS project zone that you will be using to submit your proposal, to monitor your project when it is running. She will introduce you to the very first steps of the submission, how to submit your project outline. And note that this is a very powerful tool, which is used by the XECS office, as well as by the public authorities to manage the projects. Shéhérazade, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and welcome to all of you. It's my pleasure today to try to guide you through this to the project outline proposal and to give you some tips and tricks and maybe also some advice, as already mentioned by Nadja. Thank you for this nice introduction. So how to submit your proposal? So I will guide you through and explain today what we are going to see in the next quarter. So firstly, you will see the project flow to submit a project outline, which is explained in different steps from the registration to our tool until the submission of your project outline. I will go then a little bit deeper, mentioning what is expected for your submission. And as mentioned and underlined by Nadja several times, I will draw your attention to who you are submitting your proposal, who will evaluate your proposal. You have two agencies that you have to reach, and you have to be aware of these agencies. So I will give you just some highlights on that. Then we will go a little bit more deeper in submitting your project outline. Of course, this event, it's a short event, so we won't go through entirely the system. But as underlined, we are here to help, so you will find our contact details that you already can find in our public website. But I will give you also, again, our email at the end of this presentation. And finally, I will also highlight how to finalize correctly and to have a successful submission. And just one word for the next step that you are expecting, assuming that you will have an approval at the end of your PO. So let's get started. And in this, on the screen, you can see in one slide the summary of your proposal, of all the steps, I would say. So I won't give you so much detail from the beginning because it's something that we are going to see now. The registration, of course, in using our system, which is XCCS Project Zone. I will talk about it just in a few minutes. In the blue section, you can see that it is all the steps that you have to provide to be able to submit your proposal. So using the system, but also I will mention later by fulfilling an annex template. So you will have this submission with the deadline mentioned several times, which is the 25th February 2022. Then here I will go a little bit more details as it's a lot of questions are raised from our past involvement in Penta and Catherine, how your proposal will be evaluated. You will have two agencies that evaluate your project, and you will receive a detailed combined feedback from the INEAS technical expert group, but also from your national public authorities. And you will receive a consolidated evaluation. And if you are successful in your PO, I would like to already underline that you have to take into account all the mandatory points that they will underline in this consolidated evaluation feedback. But let's get started first by what should you expect in order to be able to submit your proposal. So you will use only one single tool, which is, as mentioned by Caroline, used also from the back end of the office. We can guide you at any time, but also by the public authorities, that they will evaluate it directly using this tool to evaluate your proposal. So to know better this tool, you have two complementary channels for providing your information. So you can use directly the project zone in order to put your figure. I would say it's the effort, the cost data, and to invite your partners. You will use, aside to this XCCS Project Zone tool, two documents at the PO stage. The first one is what we call the Project Outline Annex, which is a Word document. I will go a little bit deeper on that. And you will also use a Excel cost, which is an Excel file requested by the national public authorities, in which you have to provide some details regarding the cost and the effort of the partners involved in your project. As underlined several times in our conferences today, the sooner you start, the better. You have to get familiarized with the tool. You have to know the different sections to go through. So it's never too soon to start registering using our tool. Then also you have to talk earliest as possible with your national funding bodies, because they are at the end the ones that they will find your project. Then, as I mentioned at the beginning, you have to convince two different kinds of people that they will evaluate your project. The first one, they are the INEAS technical experts, that they will focus and look globally to the impact of your project and the quality of this one. As mentioned by Patrick, you should look at different points. Extended state of the art, to have clear objective written in your proposal. To have an appropriate and consortia to show exactly who is doing what, and to show the complementarity of your consortium. And your project had to be viable. You have to go to a well-organized project, obviously, and to be relevant with the XCCS program target. The second angel that you have to convince and that they will look deeply through your project is the national bodies. So each national country has its own rules. That's why it's very crucial that the national coordinator of your project has to be involved and to talk at the early stage as possible in order to check the eligibility in the country for the consortium. And you have also to match the national RD&I focus area. So you have, in another word, to meet individually and collectively by all the partners in each country in the global way of your project. So after having just highlighting this important fact and which is crucial for the success of your project, let's go deeper, a little bit deeper in the project zone and what should you expect, and let's see some general remarks or tips and tricks of our of what we gained from our past involvement in Penta and Catherine. It's very important that using the project outline annex, which is available going through the documents and templates of the tool, it's very important to read the guidance text. You will see some green boxes, which is very detailed, that they guide you through what we expect from you in each section. That's very important because it's really to meet these requirements and guidelines. Other key points, which seems quite obvious, but need to be underlined, is that you have to respect the page limit. Quantity is not synonym of quality. So don't forget in this saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And of course, as the program submission is in English, we advise you to check the English at the end of the submission of your project inside your proposal. So that's for giving you some guidelines, tips of this general information for the PO annex. And let's see in this screen now what you should expect and what you are going to see, actually, the different sections that they are mentioned in our PO. Obviously, you have this project description, which is your unique selling point, and I would like to underline it because it's something that people are going to see directly when they're logging into your project. So it's the first page and the first link with the audiences that you would like to reach. So you have to be really careful by being able to be straight to the point and convince your audiences. So after I let you go through, you will see the rationale of your project that you have to develop, the targeting and impact, you need to provide some market analysis, consortium market access, mentioned several times by Nadja, contribution to sustainability, which is a topic which is quite important nowadays. And after, you can go deeper in the technical aspect of your project. So going through this first step of the PO annex, in parallel, you have to provide some information into the system. As I mentioned at the beginning, I would say that the PO annex, it's more a document, descriptive document, where you can explain your project ideas, your innovation, what the project is about. Using the portal directly, you will provide more figure information. And first, you have to start by registering yourself. So I will give you here just the access. So you just have to log in, which is quite straightforward by putting your email address, and you will receive a confirmation of your registration. This is the start of building, I would say, your project. So you can edit the information, and I would like to just highlight that it's very important that you use the system carefully at the first steps, because a lot of your companies, and maybe your company is already registered in our system. So use the drop-down menu, which is accessible, before trying to type the company name, which can be wrongly spelling and which can create some issue afterwards. So it's better to start with a very good starting point, I should say. So what are the different steps in the project zone that you are going to see in the portal with different tabs? The first one is to create your project. So it's quite straightforward, and you can edit your basic. After, one of the major points is to create your consortium by inviting partners and by adding associates to projects. And as I mentioned, you can edit cost and effort per country. After doing all of that in the tool and finalizing your PO annex, you can finalize your project version by uploading the PO annex in the management tab of this tool and checking what we call the merge document, because the information that you provide online using the tool and the information in the annex will be gathered in one single document. And it's important to know that you can resubmit your proposal, checking the correctness of the merge document at any time during the PO preparation until the deadline. So I already explained this, that you can add your partner using the partner tabs, which is quite straightforward, but just this view, it's just to underline that your partners has to reply to your request and will be active in your proposal. To finalize your project version, it's important to look through the system. In the system, which is a powerful system, you have a project checklist. You will see that you have some RAID items which need to be, the information regarding this RAID item needs to be provided in order to be able to submit your proposal. It's a guidance, in fact, in order to make sure that you have provided all the requested information. So finalizing your submission, you have to check that there is no blocking issue anymore to be able to have this submit button and to be able to really end your proposal. You have to make sure that the merge document is looking as you are expected. And a deadline is a deadline. So the deadline for this first call of XECS for the PO will be the 25th February 2022. And the last but not the least, we are here to help, and we can at any time during your PO preparation being reachable to answer your question. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, let's assume that your PO has been approved. What you should expect next to the approval, you will receive a combined detailed feedback regarding your project outline. So you have to read carefully and to meet all the requirements in order to be able to submit and to go through the next step, which is the full project proposal, for which we will ask more information. And from this information, we will ask you to provide some work package details. So let's finish by reminding you this deadline that you now have registered, the 25th February 2022. And let's also have just a few time just for you to notice that Nadja, Patrick, and myself, we are here to help through and to guide you through all the different steps of this first proposal of XECS program. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to guide you, to give you some more guidance during this time, and to receiving your proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shéhérazade. Now, you all know about XECS, and you know almost everything. But before jumping to the Q&A session, I would like to say a few words about how to join our ECS community. Now, let us see how you can become part of the ECS community and the advantage it offers. As already mentioned, ENEAS has been very active in Eureka clusters in the past, managing Catherine, which closed in 2019, by creating and operating Penta, by taking over Euripides more recently, and now by preparing XECS in the new Eureka Cluster program designed by the preceding chairs of Eureka. And again, a big thank you to Peter Connor, who has been very instrumental in preparing the new XECS cluster program. XECS has been validated by the high-level group of Eureka in June this year and can now be deployed through this launch event today in which we opened the first XCCS call for proposals. As already explained, ENEAS is in charge of operating XCCS, from opening the calls for proposals, organizing the selection of proposals, together with experts in the field and the public authorities, which are our partners in this program, to managing the projects during their lifetime until the very end. The XCCS team, as presented by Shéhérazade, is here to help you in every step of your project. But ENEAS is not alone to represent the community of actors in the XCCS domain and the ECS domain more generally. Artemisia and EPOS, which represent industry in the Excel and the future KDT partnership, together with ENEAS, also support the XCCS cluster program, allowing a wider community to contribute to XCCS and take full advantage of cooperation along the value chain. Together, we share a common vision, mission, and strategy, and speak as one voice to our partners, including public authorities. Together, we create a common strategic research and innovation agenda, as presented by Patrick Cogez, which you can also contribute to by participating in the dedicated sessions at FX or during workshops that we organize or co-organize. Together, we provide a toolbox to the community to maximize benefits. So by joining an association, you become a member in the community and get access to the support, the events, and the services that we deliver. And you can play an active role in XCCS by becoming an expert in the technical expert group, as mentioned several times, including by Shéhérazade, or in the intercluster working groups. This is something a little different, which we will not cover today, but this is a place where the 5 Eureka clusters align together around joint thematic calls, enlarging to an even wider network of stakeholders. And you can be part of that if you wish. Now, as already said, we are 3 associations serving the needs of the ECS community. Most of this has already been presented by Nadja, so I will not go into details again. We provide the ECS collaboration tool, which allows you to share ideas, attract partners, or look for partners, independently of any funding program. We co-organize FX, which is our major yearly event, in November, gathering the community to reflect on strategic matters, as well as to network, get information about the RD&I funding programs, and start preparing projects through pitches and posters in a kind of pre-brokerage event. There is the ECS brokerage in January every year, as mentioned, hopefully again in a physical meeting in January 2022 in Brussels, focusing on the calls of the year and the preparation of consortia and proposals. And in all those events, specific attention is given to the SMEs with dedicated sessions for them to pitch their skills and be visible from the audience. So as a conclusion, this is the virtuous circle that you enter when you become a member of ENEAS or of one of our sister associations, and as was already highlighted earlier by Nadja. When you become a member, you enter the network. You belong to a vibrant community. You meet regularly in events and workshops. You contribute to shaping the future by creating the strategic research and innovation agenda and the programs to come. You influence the European institution, the Commission, the Parliament, as well as national public authorities through events, workshops, position papers, and your interests are defended by the associations in their relations with those official bodies. You create partnerships and consortia, you build projects that will be funded, and new relationships with new partners. And at the end, you deliver impact for your own organization as well as for the society, as you contribute to answer to societal and economic challenges for the benefit of Europe. Thank you for your attention. Now comes the time for the question and answer session. All the team is ready here to answer your questions. Myself, Nadja, Patrick, and Shéhérazade. So Patrick, can you guide us through the questions?
So yes, Caroline, with great pleasure. Not surprisingly, many questions are actually focusing on funding. Maybe I'll start with a general one. A question from Peter says, do I understand it correctly that an XCCS decision of national authorities is connected with the Eureka labeling of a project proposal? Or will the national authorities decide based on the labeling and a national proposal round? So I guess this is maybe a question for Nadja.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. So the decision of the labeling of the projects is a joint decision between the clusters and the public authorities. Finally, public authorities decide about the national funding, of course, and in some countries, the label is the basis to start with the national funding process. But again, so we all discuss this together so that we have a good harmonized and synchronized process to help you and to start, for you to start as soon as possible with the project and before, of course, submitting the national application.
Thank you, Nadja. Another questions related to funding, actually two questions, and they're linked to the position of France. So maybe I'll ask the two questions together. So one of the questions is, we understand that France could be involved in an XCCS project even if it's not among the 19 supporting countries, but then how can we do it? So what is the funding process and the rules? And the second, more general question is, why isn't France part of this cluster, knowing that France was one of the founders of Penta and Euripides? Maybe again, Nadja.
Thank you, Patrick. So it is correct that you can involve a French participant in your consortium and in your project, although France is not in the list of these 19 countries. There are national programs available, like I mentioned, IDEMO, for instance, or the Innovation Development Support Program, which can be used to support participants in cluster projects. How this works and what are exactly the national rules, you will find this out by contacting your national authorities. You will find on the XCCS website a link to the Eureka website where you can find all the details from the national authorities. And so please get there, go there, contact them and ask for the national funding possibilities there. Why France is not supporting anymore? So this is something we could only give a guess. I just can tell you we are in close contact with the French national authorities also and discussing with them how they can support in the future XCCS cluster. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadja. I'm afraid you're not off the hook yet because still questions about funding. This one more specific about Estonia. Is Estonia included in the list of supported countries?
So Estonia is not included in the list of the 19 countries. For Estonia, it is simply because it is a very small country and they receive applications only once in a while. So thus they decided to support clusters in general, but decide on a project by project base whether they will support this project. So there is national funding available. And again, it is worth just get in touch with the public authorities in Estonia, and you will find the national contact details on the Eureka website. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question, this time not about funding. Is there any tool for finding partners or to join existing consortia? Is it possible to advertise our expertise in your platform? Yes, maybe Nadja again, or?
I think maybe Patrick, you know the ECS collaboration tool much better than I do, just having joined Xecs.
Okay, so I'll take that one. Yes, indeed. So the answer is yes. Regarding, as Nadja mentioned, there is a tool called the ECS collaboration tool. That tool allows you to, first of all, if you have ideas of a project, even when you don't have a consortium yet, you can post your idea, put a description of it, and list some kind of the competencies, the other partners that you would like to meet in terms of competencies to build a consortium towards the realization of that idea. So that's one part. There is also a part where you can describe your competencies yourself, and there is a search engine which allows to retrieve potential partners based on competencies, based on keywords. So I would say this is this ECS collaboration tool is here to help during what we call the ideation phase. So, and as you build up and you start building up your consortium and your idea and turning it really in a proposal, then you can take that idea and register in the project zone to then start the process that was explained by Shéhérazade earlier today.
But I think we need also to emphasize the importance of participating in the events like the FX and the brokerage, because there is a kind of exhibition with posters plus some presentations in pitches, both project ideas pitches and SMEs presenting their skills to the audience, that also allow to trigger the creation of new consortia and to trigger the generation of project proposals, very often starting without aiming at a specific funding instrument, starting really from your project ID, creating the consortium around this project ID, and there we can also help as an association if you need guidance, whether it is rather in an Xecs portal that you should submit, or if your project is bigger, potentially into key digital technologies, the new partnership under Horizon Europe. So don't hesitate also to ask us advice. We can also potentially know from the past some experienced potential partners. It's always good to use the network, to ask advice to the Xecs office or to the association where you already belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Here is another tricky question, maybe again for Nadja. How does Xecs differ from the Penta cluster?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. So Xecs is the successor of Euripides and Penta, and it is also serving the ECS community. So in principle, you are right. So there is, with regard to this, no huge difference. But in Xecs, we have more countries supporting Xecs now, and also we have easier and faster administration processes, and more in the background. What you don't experience as a participant is that with regard to the new governance structure in the new cluster environment of Eureka, there are also a lot of administration steps, harmonization, synchronization discussions going on, which finally will help you to be faster in your project, to receive faster and in a more synchronized way the funding from the different public authorities, and thus create your impact faster at the end. Thank you.
Maybe I can also add a few comments. I will have mostly two comments. The first is that in XCCS, the three associations together, ENEAS, Artemisia, and EPOS, support this cluster. And this is new based on the very good experience and common work we have achieved in Excel. We have been joining forces for the benefit of our respective communities, which globally is very complementary. So we have one huge ECS community, from chips to systems, embedded software, smart systems. Everything along the value chain is now really supporting XCCS. The second remark I would like to make, although it is not the object of today, is that XCCS is a new cluster in this new Eureka Cluster program that has been launched recently, and I would say designed by the respective chairs of the past 2 years in Eureka. But there are more clusters. There are now 5 clusters: XCCS, ITIA 4, Celtic Next, Eurogia, and Smart for manufacturing. And those 5 clusters are intended to work more closely together. As you know, in the past, already Penta and Euripides have started joining forces by creating joint calls as of 2019. So 3 years in a row, we have synchronized our calls, joined forces in technical experts group, combining our experts, so that the process would allow more projects, bigger coverage of the value chain, and also more attention from public authorities. With the intercluster, we go one step beyond based on this experience that we had with the joint Penta and Euripides calls. We have decided to launch joint thematic calls. And you may have noticed that over the past 2 years, 2020 and 2021, we have launched calls on artificial intelligence, because we consider this as a kind of underlying technology serving the needs of all our cluster communities. With those 2 joint thematic calls, we have found the best way of working to have joint calls across the 5 clusters. And this will intensify in coming years. The next joint thematic calls will be on sustainability and is being organized today among the 5 clusters. XCCS, as part of the 5 clusters, will be part of defining the terms of this call. So it is important for you to know that already with this new setting, you get access to even more possibilities, not only to the bottom-up calls of XCCS, serving the needs of the strategic research and innovation agenda, but also answering more top-down calls agreed by the funding public authorities on very important themes like artificial intelligence, sustainability, and many more to come that you will help us define in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Now comes maybe a more technical question, so maybe I'll take it for myself, and the question goes as like that. How will an ASIC service company, that is a company providing design, layout, and test, be perceived by XCCS? And the person asking the question says, I believe that few of the companies may require ASIC to be built. Well, in fact, we do have a number of examples of projects in past clusters like Penta, where the companies have been designing ASIC as part of the prototype. Of course, not for production on a large scale, but using MPW, so multi-product wafer mechanisms, so that they can afford it. So as far as I'm concerned, I would say that probably a company providing ASIC services, design, layout, and test would definitely be welcome and be a natural partner in XCCS consortium. And okay, then I move to the next question. This time again about funding. And we cross the channel to go to UK. So the question is, will UK-based organizations be able to participate after inquiring with their national authorities, or are you already aware that the UK will not participate to the program at all? Nadja, I guess again a question for you.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. So Eureka, and with that the clusters, are different from EU and EU programs. The UK is luckily a full member of Eureka, and thus it is very easy and possible to cooperate with participants from the UK. Thus, yes, please contact the national authorities in the UK. They are very supportive to clusters, but they haven't taken yet final funding or budget decisions in general, not only about Eureka and the clusters, and this is why they are currently not yet on our list, but they are, again, very supportive to clusters, and please contact the national authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadja. Here is another question coming. What about Bulgaria?
Yes, so Bulgaria is also full member of Eureka and can support clusters as well. We haven't had that many participants from Bulgaria yet. And so again, please, the advice would be to contact the national authorities there. If there is no national support possible, then again, please also consider the possibility of self-financing, depending on who will be the participant from Bulgaria. Sometimes it is very important for companies specifically to join such a project because it is in their interest, and sometimes they are able also to self-finance projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nadja. I think at this moment I've covered all the questions who were in the chat, but maybe I will turn to one general question for Caroline, which might be of interest for everybody, is what is the potential success rate?
Thank you, Patrick. Maybe it's a good time also to wrap up around that last question. And looking at what happened in Penta. Although Penta is still running, there are no more calls. It's the last call was in 2021, but projects will still run until 2024. So if you look at what happened in Penta, over 6 calls, we had 31 projects to date. Some of the last call are still under discussion. Mostly small to medium-sized projects for a total number of about 2,744 person-years, covering 22 countries, for a total budget, again to date, of 332 million euro. So that's RD&I costs. And in terms of success rates, looking at the average over the 6 calls, 39% of the submitted projects became funded projects. So it's a very high level of success that you can anticipate. And just as a teaser for the SMEs that are participating today, in Penta, we have reached a level of SME participation in terms of cost of 40% SME participation in project costs, which is very high. So welcome to all SMEs that are interested to join XCCS. For more details, I would say go to the XCCS website. A lot of information is available there. and also reach out to the team as was presented today. And now it's about time to close the event today. I hope that this workshop was useful for you to get acquainted to XCCS and be ready to take full benefit of this new Eureka Cluster program. We have prepared a survey which we would like you to answer either immediately after the workshop or in coming days. We will send the link to you by email. And having said that, I want to thank you all for your attention and wish you a very successful participation in XECS.